Hey guys, what's up? Jedi here, and Season 8's map looks pretty bad at first, but actually has a ton of really cool new additions that honestly made this video a lot easier to make. That's right, you guys read the title. Today's video is going to be on solo drop spots, a topic I've never actually covered before on this channel. Now I'm actually going to be covering the trio side of this tomorrow as well, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications on, and let's get right into the first solo drop spot of Season 8, which is right after I go over why I picked each of these spots in the video. Call it like a checklist if you want, but here are the things that I personally look for. So the first thing is that it's uncontested. Now this might change for some of you guys might actually want to fight off spawn, but personally I like having a chill tournament and just landing safe, getting my loot first before taking a fight. Now obviously, especially in like open tournaments like solo cash cups, you can never guarantee that you're going to have an uncontested spot in every game. So when I look for a drop, I also make sure that I have bailout or alternative locations I can go nearby in case I get bullied off my drop or I really don't want to fight there and 50-50 a chest. If this concept isn't super clear to you right now, don't worry, watch the whole video, I promise it will make sense by the end. Next up on the checklist, it's kind of an obvious point, but you're gonna need loot to play the game. Now as a solo player, I believe you need at least 4 to 5 chests to keep you functioning in the game. Obviously you want more, but if you want to be uncontested at a split drop or something, you're probably gonna have to make sacrifices. In addition to these chests, you also want around 5+ floor loot spawns, so that's like the guns and shield that spawn just around the map without having to open a chest. And you preferably want at least 7 or 8 over the course of a loot path minimum. Now that you're uncontested and you got your loot, you're gonna need mats as well. So I think, you know, in close proximity to your drop, you should probably have at least one form of hard mat, so that's brick or metal, and access to the other hard mat that you didn't get at some point if you can. So like if your drop has a ton of metal, you also want to make sure you're able to get brick on your rotation to zone, and wood is basically everywhere, so it's just free. The last thing on my checklist that's not at all necessary but is nice to have is free shield without having to pop minis or bigs. Now a lot of you probably thought of that bottom left of the map, that slurpy area, but today one of my locations is actually not there and it's going to give you a ton of free shield right off spawn. Now if you're maybe more on the experience side of things, you're going to notice that I didn't mention positioning. Now that does play a factor, but I do prioritize loot over positioning right off the bat, especially in solos. Obviously once first circle pops up, which is completely RNG by the way, you want to pay attention to where you are and play for like dead side search if that applies, blah blah blah. But my point is, right off spawn, right when you're just landing, I want to prioritize more on loot than I am with positioning and being like center map and all that stuff. Alright guys, the first drop I'm going to be showing you guys today, sorry the new glider is really loud because it is this split. Now obviously the Spire tower has been in the game for like 2 seasons now, which kind of sucks, but it's going to be a split with the Spire tower. You can't get an RPG in arena by the way. But yeah, it's going to be the Spire split, which is all this loot down here. And in addition to this, there's actually going to be a small little place here that some of you might not know was added to the game because it didn't show up on the map as grayed out. But if you come over here to this box, you can actually go ahead and farm right through this door and enter this place, right? And obviously this door is kind of open as well, so you can see inside. But here you can go downstairs and there's like a couple chests down here. Get some ammo, get all this loot. There's also some free shield right here. Again, we talked about the checklist. There's some free shield, which is nice. 2 chests down here, some ammo, great stuff. Now the best thing about this drop and the reason why I picked it is, first of all, that Spire is really great positioning right off spawn, especially if you're in a stacked lobby and you need to get tags. If you land up there, you can go ahead and just start looking around the map. Sorry, I got distracted, didn't know there were birds in the game. Anyway, if you land on the Spire, you can get a ton of tags, you can get positioning. You can also look around and tell just by looking around what's con and what's not, and see where you can potentially rotate for more loot if you don't get what you like out of your drop. The positioning is also pretty good on the map, and you see that like worst case scenario of zone pulls like here or here, you're actually not that far off and you'll be able to rotate pretty early, which is really nice. There's also this extra loot right here, and of course if you decide that this house is uncontested or worth pushing, you might as well push there as well. It might even give you a free kill because you'll probably have better loot. Another thing I really like about this drop is the material. Obviously there's a ton of wood. I mean, you're almost right in the middle of Weeping. There's also a lot of brick just in this area, right? And right over here, there's so much brick at these new locations. I'll talk more about them later because I will be covering a few spots in my video. There's a ton of brick in this area, and you can also look for more kills and tags over here as well. This chest is actually fair game, although I wouldn't recommend going there until you finish looting this area. And now we're back at the yellow box because the best part about this split drop is that you get a ton of wood, you get a ton of brick, and you also get really good metal. Now there's a ton of metal down here. You do want to be careful if you're farming down here because it's super easy to trap people inside, like literally just by like blocking off the tops because there's only one way up. But you can get a ton of free metal down here. Super nice, right? All this stuff is metal. And outside this free shield, you can also just get all this metal, and then you'll have basically really good materials for all three, which is super important. Alright, the second drop spot is going to be this disco house right here. Obviously, this has been in the game for like 2 years, so if you already know this spot, feel free to skip over if you'd like. But I'm also going to talk about why I think it's super viable in this season in particular. So the reason I think this disco place is so good in Season 8 is because of, with all the new hype and all the new locations, this incredibly diverse map and all the new drop spots, nobody's really going to be looking back at a place that's been here for 2 years, right? You're never going to be contested by like more than one person, which is really great too, because one of the reasons disco is so amazing is because there are so many places to leave if you'd like. There's a ton of loot down at this bottom area by the docks. There's 2 ski houses here, both of which are viable. You can even loot some of Misty if you're really pressured into it. And of course, there's this new location right over here. This is a great place to rotate to when you're leaving disco, or of course if you have to come here on a bailout. Now the reason I really like this place is 1, it has a car, so that's already really good rotation. 2, it has some metal. Obviously it's not as good as the bunker I mentioned earlier, but it does have some metal. And 3, it has this right here, which is the special henchman chest. So you have 2 normal chests, a henchman chest. That's going to help you bolster your inventory and really set you up for the later game if you ever need it. Alright, now I'm super excited for this third spot because I think it's going to blow your mind. You see this cube over here? Nobody's been talking about it. It just got added this season. Everyone's focusing on all the orange like cancer spots, but nobody's really paid attention to just this little clove of trees and this cube right here. Now, personally, I do think this is the best solo drop spot of this season, and now I'm going to show you guys why. Yes, you are seeing this correctly. When you land on the cube or touch it in any way, you're going to get the free shield, and it's really amazing because you can literally just hang out by the cube like this, and I'm already at 100 shield. Something else I also really like is that there are a ton of mushrooms. Obviously those aren't as important now, but there are also a bunch of chest spawns on all these rocks around, and you can right away get so much brick and like max wood basically just from this area. Not only that, but you're also guaranteed so many floor spawns. Remember guys, chests are not 100% spawn rate, but the floor spawns are, meaning you're guaranteed a ton of loot even if none of the chests spawn. So after you've stacked yourself up with the full shield from the cube, all these mats from all your surroundings, you can go ahead and cross this bridge and head up right onto this hill. And actually, if you're in a more competitive game and you maybe want to have more mats, you can also farm this metal brick. This bridge isn't actually like contested very often, so you can probably get like 200-300 metal here before rotating forward depending on the zone. You can also look at Misty for tags, and this orange space is a really good place to get tags on as well, because a ton of people will probably be landing there in solos. This spot right here with its slipstreams also make sure that you can never get cucked by zone, which is actually a very common problem if you land in the Camp Cod area. But now, because you have this slipstream, you can always rotate, and you can probably get to like around here just past Lazy very easily, even if you have a bad circle. I mean, you are looking at instant full shield, guaranteed floor spawns, meaning guaranteed loadouts, a bunch of potential chests that can really help boost your inventory, and this bridge right here also has an extra chest. I think it's a perfect solo drop spot because it's all super contained as well. And of course, the bailout is that you can just go ahead and move into Camp Cod just for some free loot. Alright, the next location we're going to be going over, the fourth one, I obviously don't think is as good as the one we just covered, but it's still really amazing regardless. You guys can already see it, it's already marked, it's the crash site right under Dirty. Now the reason I think that this spot is so good is because 1, it's a really great vantage point. There's loot up here, 2 guaranteed floor spawns, and you can right away look down, try and get some free kills on kids landing around in the Dirty area, which is often contested. Second of all, the slipstreams are really amazing if you want to avoid fights, or if you didn't get the loot you wanted off spawn, you can go ahead and hop in one of these and just be gone from your opponent right away. And obviously Dirty is an amazing place to get extra loot if you ever need it. This place in particular is amazing for metal, and if you can see if it's contested just from landing up here right away, you can see if anyone's landing in the area and you can claim it really quickly just by hopping the slipstream and going right over. Not to mention there's a ton of chests and a ton of guaranteed floor loot spawns, which is always great in a solo drop spot like this. And of course there's also a bunch of other rotational strategies as well, but I'm saving those for future videos, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Now I know we're still at the Dirty one, but I actually want to talk about all the other ones as well just while I'm here. They're all viable for solos. Obviously you're gonna have to probably split it or fight with another player for the loot, but the way it works is I would recommend to win off spawn here is actually landing on height, so like on the actual ship on a guaranteed floor loot spawn. You can mark loot while you're flying to see what it is, obviously, if you didn't know. But I do recommend landing on these, and the reason for this is because 1, you have slipstream so you can get away really fast, and 2, you have instant height and great positioning. You can see them before they see you, and you can probably take shots at them before they can take shots at you. It is incredibly possible to land here and kill that person going for that chest before they can even open it. Alright, hopping right into this next spot, the last one. You guys are probably going to think this one's pretty controversial, but personally, I think it's a great spot that can actually work out super well in solos. And it is not the triple houses. The spot I'm referring to is not actually a spot at all. It's more like a big loot line, I guess you could call it. So basically, it's this area around Steamy. Keep in mind, we're not actually going to go into Steamy unless you see that it's uncontested, or you can get some free loot and mats. But you can actually land in this area and get a ton of loot. I think it's like 5 or 6 chests total. A ton of free metal, free brick, good wood, and overall just a ton of loot in general. The great thing about this is that you can also incorporate fishing into your strategy. You can see here a bunch of fishing spots all around this island. Obviously, we are in pubs, so it's going to be a little different in arena and competitive. But you can land in this area, get all this loot, even fish, and honestly be in a pretty good position. The great thing about rotating from here as well is that you're going to have access to the stacks, and you're going to be able to fly all the way to like corny crops right off the bat if you ever feel the need to. If you're ever pressured, you can also make your way and fight your way to the stacks so that you can get away and bail out to a different place. If there was an underrated drop spot competition, I think this would be one of the front runners because nobody ever talks about looting the area above Steamy, but it's actually super viable for a solo, and it can really set you up to win cash cup games, and I can say this with confidence because I've done it before. Yes guys, that's it for my video on solo drop spots. I'm going to be going over trios tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed for that. Obviously, please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and feel free to use code JEDI2X to support me in the item shop if you'd like. Thanks for watching as always, and peace.